science of Newton say, oh, this only applies in space. It's only when we found out that, okay, there is equals mc squared. Okay, the understanding of time, our understanding of time and space was absolutely false. Absolutely categorically false. Yeah, time and space is fabric. And the bigger the mass, the more there is bend in the fabric of time and space, and that's how we then get orbits. This is something that was not brought at all by Isaac Newton. So that was completely changed. Phlogiston. Yeah, was it phlogiston? Yeah, Hamza Sorts has mentioned this example all the time. Yeah, this was something that was brought by the scientists, and they said, look, this is something that's in the fabric of reality or whatever. That was proven to be absolutely categorically false. It didn't exist. Absolutely does not exist. Junk DNA. Yeah, so it's junk. It does not do anything. Maybe it does. It switches on and off genes. The appendix doesn't do anything. It's useless. Chop it off, lob it out, chuck it in the bin. No, it actually does affect. There's actually, our understanding is evolving and changing. When you look at and when you look at the likes of Richard Dawkins, and like the way they will talk about evolution as fact, this is something that can't be changed. It's fact. But then when he speaks on the other hand, but then an observation can come and change things. So like somebody like yourself can't come and say, oh, this is what we know. You just, if you're taking science, you cannot. Exactly. So, sorry? Go ahead, translate.
Yeah, so, sorry to say, but in the Quran, like, it gives us peace with not knowing certain knowledge, is that it already mentions...
Peace with not knowing.
Yes, there's a verse that says, you all humans, in one way or another, are given some knowledge, not all.
So now, here it comes down to, for example, even our discussion at the start, with regards to existence, with regards to stability. A person may be able to say, I don't know if I exist or not, or I don't know if there's stability or not. But you are going to have to cross the road. You are going to go home and feed your kids. You're not going to go home and there's going to be 11 kids instead of no kids. If I go home and I see 2 kids and a wife there, I'm going to be happy, of course, because I'm not married, but I'm also going to be concerned. I'm going to be like, okay, she's made my job easier, especially if, mashallah, she's good, and say she does the job, then my job is easy for me. But if, what I'm saying, like, I don't go about my day thinking things are sporadically going to pop into existence and out of existence. So I guess going on from what the brother's saying, is there is a degree of peace and of rationality. Like when Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. There is a degree of rationality in what he's saying. And that's where this whole kind of branch of rationalism came. Because if you take empiricism, you just can't survive on empiricism. It's just not possible.
So with the human condition, I wouldn't just say science is the only thing that you have to operate with, because there are other aspects of life that science doesn't attempt to answer, right? But with regards to how we understand our reality, the best tool that I see that we have is the scientific method, right? So your point about people coming up with bad science or coming up with things that are not necessarily true, that's bound to happen because human beings doing science, and as you know, I'm sure even in Islamic theology, human beings were flawed, right? So we're bound to have issues or inject some of our bias and all that stuff into what we do. This is why the scientific method is designed against that. This is why you have a peer review process. So when I do stuff, you don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust my opinions. Take it. This is my conclusion. Do your calculations, and then everybody does that. We compare, and when it's been peer reviewed, then we have a truth. Now that's not to say that truth will not change. It could very well be that all the observations that have been made have brought us to that conclusion. This is why the process also includes the idea that if there's a better understanding, it has to supersede that model. So it doesn't take away from the reality, the phenomenon that you've observed and things that you've checked to be true within the bounds of what you've realized before, right? So when you have Newtonian physics, all the calculations were done on Earth and all that stuff. Then they started, was it like a telescope or whatever? They used to see far.
Hubble,
and realized that, Hubble.
Hubble was the first main one that was in...
but Einstein came before Hubble, didn't Einstein?
They were on here, isn't it? Hubble was the first one that was put into our atmosphere.
But the point being that there were tools that we then had after classical physics that let us know that what we know about classical physics isn't always correct. In other words, our bounds of exploration expanded. Does that mean Newtonian physics does not work in Earth? No, of course not. You know, but as we observe other things, we go, oh, it doesn't necessarily work in that aspect. And then we then have general relativity. Now, when you take the formula from general relativity and then apply it to constants on Earth or anywhere, it still works. So the calculations you get from general relativity, you get from Newtonian physics when you're working with the same variables. That hasn't changed.
Okay, with regards to science here, I'm going to disagree with you on that. You say science gives us, it's the best model that we have so far.
To engage with our reality, yeah.
Yeah, I will disagree, and I will
Scientific
say...
method, not science.
Right,
Yeah.
no problem. I will say science itself relies on testimony. And testimony cannot be proven by science. So science, in essence, gets disproved by its own method.
But this goes back to the axiomatic truth we were talking about earlier. Do you believe in objective truth? What's truth?
I believe in
truth?
objective
You believe in
truth, yeah.
objective truth, yeah. So if we operate on that principle, right, and then we go, there are things that I observe, I give it to you, you do your calculations, not based off my ideas.
But bear in mind, you said peer-reviewed,
Yeah.
and you said follows the scientific method. That was your criteria. These two are your criteria. Testimony
Peer review
does...
is part of the scientific method.
Yeah, okay, so even if we class them both into one, even that one can't be proved using your criteria. Testimony can't be proved.
Testimony can't be proved.
Testimony can't be proved under the scientific method, yeah.
When you say testimony, you're talking observations that people make, or are you talking just testimony, word of mouth?
Yeah, testimony. For example, most of the things that you'll be presenting with regards to science are things that you've read in textbooks, you've got from journals. Those journals have been uploaded by companies, by JSTOR or someone else. So again, you're relying...
As in you haven't done the experiments yourself.
Say again?
Yeah, as in you haven't done the
Yeah,
experiments
but yes,
yourself.
that's true. Now,
So
there's
that's
a chance that when you go on BBC or all of these websites, they might be lying, or you go on the Scientific America or whatever, and they might be lying. The only way you can deal with that is to weigh the different opinions and then make the judgment for yourself. Because I'm a layman, I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
I just read what's out there, and then I make my conclusions, right?
Yeah,
Same thing with everything, Islam as well, right? If I want to learn about Islam, I wouldn't just come to a Shia Muslim. I talk to everybody, Sunni, and then the history, the background, then I start to get a general picture of what it is.
So that's
all it is.
yes.
So I'm just encouraging skepticism, where even with science, right, when coronavirus came out, you wouldn't just read one source to know whether you should take the vaccine. You look at different sources, different journals, and then you start to form
So you're
an
saying
opinion.
scientific method and testimony, you take both of them, yeah?
I wouldn't take testimony if what you're saying is word of mouth. Is that what you're saying?
No, if a scientist comes and tells you something, would you accept it? If a website that hosts a peer-reviewed journal, would you accept it? Of course you would.
I would take the opinion of the educated majority.
Right, and
on
who's
any
told you?
topic.
And who's told you that person's educated?
Who's told me?
How do you verify that person's educated?
There are ways to verify people are educated. Degrees, you can check to see they've gone
Have
to...
you ever checked an academic's before you've read it?
I have checked. There's a guy
Yes.
called Professor Dave on YouTube.
Peer-reviewed. You've gone on their peer-reviewed article and you've asked them for their degree
No,
to
so
check.
they have links online where you can go, forums where you can read scientific papers that have been peer reviewed.
Right, so that's been photocopied and uploaded by somebody.
Yes, so
Point that I'm
it's
trying to say.
fact checked for that. So in other words,
Yeah.
you go on a website, right? The papers you find there have been fact checked. The scientists there will be like, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're not just taking one person's opinion, right? When you go to the doctor and they scan your leg or whatever, that's not just one person. You're dealing with thousands of years of medical knowledge, right? Going through that guy. So
But there have been fake doctors. Like there was this doctor who'd kill. I've forgotten his name. There was this doctor that used to kill loads of people. He was all over the news here in the UK.
you can have bad faith
One
actors in
famous doctor.
science too.
No, but that's the thing. With that understanding, you're going to that doctor, assuming that there's this legacy of information, but the guy's a liar. Yes.
I mean, there's
But-
only so much. You can pick
But
up-
what I'm saying is you have to rely on testimony, because if somebody scans something, you're relying on the person scanning something and not doctoring the document. Then if you go to his house, you have to accept that that person actually didn't reproduce that. They have the actual document. You can't go to university. Then you don't. Do you see? So I would say that it's very difficult for you to verifiably check 100% every single thing. It's impossible. So you have to rely on testimony. Yeah, you have to rely on the scientific method.
Testimony, though.
But even I would say with educated testimony,
Do you doubt your doctor?
yes. If I've gone to my optician.
Yeah.
I've had a nice conversation with him. He's giving me glasses and he says, look, in 2 days, if there's an issue, come back to us. That means my optician.
If you have an issue, please come back. We've got return policy.
So after 2 days, I checked my my prescription, my glasses, and it just wasn't adjusting. I went there and there was somebody else there. I got it rechecked and I got new glasses made. I didn't trust them. If my doctor, if I go to him and he says, look, take these for 3 days and your stomach should be better, and I take it and my stomach is not better, I don't trust him. He's made a mistake there. I'm gonna go back, and this time I'm gonna ask to see another doctor. I just remember what my mum said. Anytime we go to hospital, she always says to me, make sure that it's a doctor who knows what they're doing and not a student doctor. She hates student doctors.
Which is a good point. Now, why would your mom say make sure it's a doctor as opposed to a student doctor?
Because she wants somebody that is more trained than somebody else that's available.
Point being, they're taking it, they have more access to informed knowledge.
Yeah,
I would rather deal with somebody that has learned from thousands of professionals because the chances are they know what they're talking about, as opposed to somebody that is a maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
The point being, the information that educated person is giving me has been checked. Is there a chance that they may be making a mistake? Of course, they might be dropping the ball. There might be even bad faith actors that want to kill me. But I am more inclined to lean towards somebody that is educated. So I will go to the doctor and break our leg instead of doing it ourselves, even though it's our own body.
Now that we've established that testimony is something that we have to rely on, educated testimony. MashaAllah, very good. You call it educated testimony. We call it authentic testimony. In Arabic we call it sahih. Sahih, that means authentic. Now I'm about to blow your mind, Osas. You ready? Take your headphones off, take your top off, take everything off, no problem. Are you ready now? Now in science, the only way to check somebody's testimony is to check, does he or she have the relevant documentation? Are they qualified from this? Are they from Oxford? Show me the documentation that this person's from Oxford. Okay, now we accept what you're saying. In Islam, we take it one step forward. When we take testimony of narrations of the Quran, of the Prophet, we'll say, okay, what's the name of his father? What's the name of his tribe? Did he have a good memory? Did he say that he was at the place that he was? Did he say that the person that he studied from was indeed the person that he studied from? Can we verify this? How many other people verify that? Are they in connection with this person, or are they detached from that person? So our testimony now is going at a higher level, to such a degree that science cannot match the testimony that Islam gives. The Islamic testimony in terms of looking at a person's tribe, in fact, it goes to the moral aspect. Has this person lied before? Was this person theologically upstanding? Did they have a good reputation in society? Today, you have certain people that are writing peer-reviewed journals, and they're coming and they're saying, a man can be a woman can be a coconut can be a tricycle.
Does it affect the science they're writing though?
It does, definitely, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you. Because the peer-reviewed process becomes compromised. And this is something that even Neil deGrasse, you know Neil deGrasse, isn't it? The famous
Tyson.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said this, and he's very careful with what he was saying. He's saying that there's a study with regards to homosexuality that is coming out. Now, as scientists, we're very scared, because a lot of us, and again I'm paraphrasing, I'm reading between the lines to what he was saying, which in essence what he was saying was that many scientists are scared about what's going to happen to their career because if they align with a certain viewpoint, then their careers are in jeopardy. And there have been, it's not only homosexuality, it's LGBT and it's feminism as well. Feminists are now rejecting outright peer-reviewed journals because they are done by quote-unquote men. And these journals, these peer-reviewed journals are being done again by feminists with inherent biases. Now, you cannot remove the bias from that person. And how do you check that bias? How do you verify it? Is there an objective way of compiling and writing down that information that you and I can check? Okay, where did they get it from? What's their allegiances and stuff like that?
That is it. But this is the thing. People will always have their agenda. You understand? Even scientists. You had, I can't remember who was the one that believed in like alchemy. Some top scientists back in the day. Was it Newton?
Yes.
I'm sure. And his thing was, yeah, alchemy is any science that he's discovered or any scientific theory that he's codified has to be, by the process of peer reviewing is empiricism. It removes the bias and then boils it down to the numbers and adding things up and making sure things correlate. In other words, you would struggle to get bias into a peer review paper unless the whole system is flawed. And how do we know that people that do science drop the ball? Because of the scientific process. Because a scientist later can then take that same study and say, you did this, but you were wrong here. That's the beauty of it. Your emotion does not matter. How you feel does not matter. It's the calculations. It's the bolted down, real harsh reality, right? So you would always have people with agenda that will try to inject things into whatever they are doing. What makes it stand out is the fact that I can take your belief. It can be black, white, green, blue. I take your discovery, and then I do the calculations myself, and I say you're wrong, and I can demonstrate that. So if there's any scientific finding that you bring forward that they discovered that was wrong, it is exactly because of that. Because somebody has gone back, taken that study, broken it down, and was able to show where they were wrong. You can only do that with empiricism, with no emotion.
We've already covered that though. Because of the replication crisis and because of the way the data is interpreted, that's just simply not the case. Because how you interpret that science, again, going back to your point, relies on biases. Yeah, so when you're replicating things, depends on biases. How you're interpreting the data relies on biases. Even paradigm shifts rely on biases as well. And also, I will add another thing in there as well, which is barrier to entry. People that accept, and like Stephen Myers and the likes, they talk about intelligent design. Intelligent design, to explicitly talk about intelligent design in the scientific forum is something which is heavily looked down upon. It will get you cancelled. And this is why, not rightfully so, because if science is supposed to be
cancelled, sorry, but laughed at.
No, I wouldn't even say laughed at, because if this is a way, if this is a way of getting to the truth, then why does it matter what design they're talking about? Whether it's intelligent design, whether it's empirical design, whether it's rational design, science is science. And if somebody thought Newton was true, they'd be laughing at Einstein, and then you're pushing back Einsteinian physics. And if you're in Einstein's level, you're laughing at quantum physics. You can't think like that, because from a scientist's point of view, evidence is evidence. A theory is a theory, hypothesis is a hypothesis, and yes, come with the falsification test. If it goes accordingly, if it doesn't get falsified, we'll entertain it. But what if it's intelligent design? Oh, it's a laughable. No, it shouldn't be laughable.
Because it falls in the face of a peer review, like a thorough scientific investigation.
How so?
So let's look at intelligent design. How would you, man, this guy is so annoying. How would you describe intelligence from the Islamic perspective?
Islam doesn't fall with intelligent design.
Well, Islam believes in God creating Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
So we then look at what's the empirical evidence we have today, what we know now. We have that goes against, that goes
doesn't
against.
matter. That's what we have today, isn't it?
Yeah. So you have
that can change in a month's time.
And this goes to the point I was talking about, a theory. You will never find a thing where, for instance, they will come down and say Adam and Eve really, really existed. It's very unlikely, right? A scientist will tell you, they won't say no, they will say it's unlikely. Layman talk, I can just be like, no. How do we know that's not the case? We have the geologic column that shows You don't believe in fossil evidence or DNA? None of that?
Look at Osas, think of it this way. Fossil evidence based on what? Fossil evidence, what? Because you're excavating in the United Kingdom, there might be a fossil that's right in the depth of the ice of the North Pole. You're never going to be able to access that. There are some fossils that are dug so deep that we simply do not have the technology to access that, because the tools that we have can only dig a certain kind of level into our planet. And even with regards to that, like, we do not have the manpower, we don't have access to, you know,
Stuff that we found, though.
do you see? Again, it relies on stuff that we found, stuff that we're finding. I would even argue with regards to manuscripts. There are so many manuscripts that we have filed away. We just do not have the manpower to be able to go through all the evidence.
Let's focus on intelligent design, right?
Right.
Intelligent design, Islamic perspective, Adam and Eve created by God. You look at what we know now in our modern day. We have DNA evidence that suggests that we have similar ancestors with other animals. We have the geologic column that shows the layer in which these fossils have arranged. You know, we have actual fossils that we have dug out and dated that ties with the story of, you know, shared ancestry. Right? In other words, you have a mountain of evidence that goes against the claim from a book that says Adam and Eve came from God and all that stuff. So where do we then go in a situation where we have facts that go against the Islamic claim?
So according to the Quran, it says that the sun orbits. Now, 100 odd years ago, 100 odd years ago, this wasn't accepted, that the sun is also orbiting the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. Now, I'm just going to repeat that, I know you're getting distracted. So 100 odd years ago, the Quran, as it says today, the sun orbits the galaxy. However, according to science, this was unacceptable. So there were people like yourselves that would come and say, we have a mountain of evidence that say that the sun does not orbit. Who are you guys to come and say that the sun is orbiting? However, well, that's what I'm saying, 100 odd years ago, it was not accepted in the scientific realm that the sun is orbiting the galaxy. However, then later on, as we then, you know, started developing technology, and now we know a significant amount, then we're able to say, okay, it's like steady state theory. Oh, at the time of Einstein, steady state theory was acceptable. It was the norm. Big Bang came and then knocked it out of the park. Total wipeout. Yeah? So the point that I'm trying to say is, what you're saying today is nothing different to what we've heard 10 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. There's a mountain of evidence. But then there'll be 2 mountains of evidence coming. Then there'll be 3 mountains of evidence coming. And we're saying, you're saying that, okay, let's rely on science. Okay, we trust what science says. We're saying that, okay, you have biases with regards to this. When it comes to theology, you're saying scientists don't have biases.
Not their findings, not stuff that has been peer reviewed, right? Has been understood to be a theory.
I thought we already dealt with that. So Amjad already said that these are peer reviewed, that are replicated, that are proved to be false.
Reply to that.
Yeah,
I said you have bad faith actors in science. The only way we even know that people are doing the wrong science is because somebody has come and done it properly. That's it.
Yeah.
So the scientific method is a tool. You can use it to not apply it properly and then arrive at your biased answers. Or you can do it properly.
So look, so you're saying, okay, there's one thing that you can do, and that one thing that you can do, you can check if it's true or not. But look, you can't do this with every single scientific theory. You can't do a replication crisis. I was going to say replication crisis, but it is a replication crisis. You can't do the replication procedure again and again. And Osas, we're going to keep going around in circles, but here's what I want you to do, and I'm saying this objectively in front of the cameras. Go home and check. There are many peer-reviewed journals that have been proven to be false. That's the thing. Like, there are peer-reviewed journals that are pushing steady state. They're peer-reviewed. However, but then they've been abrogated by the Big Bang and what we understand about the Big Bang. But again, some people are again reverted back to steady state. So again, it doesn't matter if it's peer reviewed, if it doesn't matter if it's family reviewed or boss reviewed, whoever's reviewing it.
I'll say this so the people that want to know. The idea of the peer review process is to remove bias and encourage objectivity, because the idea is everybody should arrive at the same answer. Right? Another thing to reply to what you said about Amgen
Biotech Firm Replication Crisis.
SMILE2JANNAH.
Yes.
I'm a subscriber.
Mashallah.
I watch all the videos.
Mashallah, I appreciate
You're
that,
doing a
bro.
great job, brother, yeah? May Allah bless you and all of us as Muslims. Alhamdulillah.
Ameen. Allah bless you, brother. You take care. Jazakallah for coming and Jazakallah for your kind words.
Alhamdulillah, brother. Yeah, take care, yeah?
Take care. So you were saying to the people at home?
Yeah, I was saying to the people at home with the Amgen studies. In the STEM fields, STEM, we're talking maths, we're talking hard sciences, we struggle to find that replication problem. I'm not saying they don't exist, and they probably exist because you have bad faith actors in science.
So
as
they
well.
do exist.
You have scientists that will go in there with their own agenda and skew the data or the findings to work with what they have in mind. The only way we get to catch those people is by doing the science properly.
And locking them up.
Flinging them away. I was going to say, no, because we were talking about, intelligent design and just the whole Adam and Eve thing.
Yeah.
Are you saying what we know now, or are you rejecting the scientific opinion on the origin of man?
Yes, 100%.
Versus what the Corenr says?
Yeah, what I'm saying is
Even
that...
with the evidence available.
Yeah, so look, Islamically, we're told that like we're invited to do science. Yeah, in fact, algebra came from Al-Khawarizmi. He wrote a book called Al-Jabr wal-Muqabila. Yeah, algorithms. Yeah, so that was needed because there was a verse in the Quran talking about distribution of inheritance. So we needed that. Yeah, even with regards to our calendar, which is based on the lunar calendar, that's why we started looking out into the cosmos. So this is something that Islam's no stranger to this sort of stuff. However, when something contradicts, for example, if Victor comes, this guy, yeah, he tells me something. And your word's not mine. But if you say something to me, yeah, I'm going to more likely be inclined to what you said than him. Yeah, because of the discussions that both of us, I've had discussions with him, I've had discussions with you. Yeah, there's a little bit that I've gathered from him, there's a little bit I've gathered from you. Yes, indeed, I can't say I objectively know both of you. However, I can come to a reasonable kind of conclusion. Now, if I extrapolate that, if I take somebody that I know and I've lived with for 1 year, extrapolate that further, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, extrapolate that further, yeah? And as opposed to somebody that was born maybe a year ago, a 1 year old or 2 year old mentality. You can't compare the two. For us, the Quran and the wisdom in the Quran is timeless, yeah? Science is time bound. It's intellect bound, yeah? It's research and facility bound. It's not objective. It doesn't claim to be objective. So that's why when something contradicts something which is in something that is coming from the Quran, we, without a shadow of a doubt, will take something from the Quran because we have no doubt that one day science will catch up. Where science ends, Islam begins. That's why for us, Islam transcends all of this. But we don't disrespect and we don't say, okay, that's something that's there, No, we're sensible people. Yeah, we've got due process, even we've got fiqh, jurisprudence, how we extract knowledge, how we extract rulings. So it's not as simple as, I'll take this, I don't take that. I'll read this, I don't read that.
It sounds to me like you say, that regardless of whatever evidence is presented to you, if it goes against anything in the Quran, it doesn't stand. Is that your opinion?
Yeah, once it goes through the due process, which we term as fiqh, and we have our own due process, then yes, without any hesitation, we will take the Quran over science.
No, my question was, you have your Islamic beliefs.
Yes.
There's a mountain of evidence that goes against something in the Quran.
Yes.
Do you discard that regardless of the level of evidence? Or,
yes, I gave you the example of the sun orbiting the galaxy. That was something that science hadn't yet discovered, but it was in the Quran. Muslims stood by the Quran and eventually science caught up. That's what I'm saying. Science is playing catch up to Islam.
Science is playing catch up to Islam in every area.
Islam doesn't say that it has the answers to every area. For example, dinosaurs. Islam doesn't talk about dinosaurs. Islam doesn't go heavily into medicine. There are certain things that God has put in place, and that's why we do science. In a place or in a scenario where science is contradicting an explicit something that scholars have accepted, then we take what the Quran says and no. There are certain verses that there will be difference of opinion. However, it's something that is clear, it's something that scholars have accepted upon, then yes, 100%. We throw science to the side and we accept that.
I think there's something, so my issue with the idea in general is that there's something dangerous in bolting yourself down to an idea and say, regardless of whatever is presented with me, I won't change my mind because I understand this to be factually true. The problem with that is the change is constant. Things are bouncing, as we know, about life, right? So what then happens in a society where we develop different sensibilities and we have different morals, or we have an idea that is informed by data that then goes against the Quran, that then means that you have to ignore that and stick with the Quran. So even in places where, in other words, even in situations where believing in words of the Quran will put you in danger, or is not the best idea because it's condoned by the Quran, for instance, you are obligated to follow through.
Yeah, science falls within this same, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but the problem that you've identified, it's called the Milgram experiment, which says that people were willing to induce people with electric shocks to a higher level just because somebody in a white coat told them to do so. That's number one. Yeah, so that's
because of science. That's just human nature.
yeah, Milgram experiment.
Yeah, I don't doubt the experiment. I'm just saying you can't attribute that and say.
No. I'm telling you, this is an anthropology. Whether you accept it or you deny it, this is an experiment that was done.
I don't doubt that. Human beings we're weird like that.
Yeah,
so it doesn't take away from
But that's what I'm saying, that where you will take somebody, when I say you, I mean average, somebody in a white coat, you would take testimony just because somebody claims that they are from Oxford. If I tell you, I'm studying at Cambridge University, will you accept that?
You say so, yeah.
That's the problem.
If you're telling me to take a pill because you studied at Cambridge, I would want to see your credentials.
But that's the thing though. Now you built on that, said, but I would want to see your credentials.
No, because your statement was you studied at Cambridge. Of course, nobody does that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Nobody would do that. You can't just follow.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Whatever you're saying with regards to theological people or people that follow a theology, I'm saying the same, if not worse, applies to people that blindly follow science. In fact, that's why we have scientism. Scientism falls under this, I would say more so than Islam. Because in terms of testimony, you can't verify the testimony as much as you can with Islam and with Muslims. And with regards to other things as well.
So I disagree with that because of the point you made earlier about the paradigm problem.
Yeah.
And I didn't describe it as a problem, I describe it as the beauty of science in that when people hold opinions or have ideas based on data or whatever, and then new data comes and improves your knowledge, and it goes against what you knew before, you're expected to change your views. That's a scientific process, right? It's like we used to think this, now we have more knowledge that supersedes that, so we change our views. This is not the case with religion. Religion is, this God has given you rules, you must follow these rules. Anything that comes that goes against these rules, you cannot change them. So the difference being, science, or people that would lean or form opinions based on that, they're bound to change. You're supposed to change, that's the belief. As opposed to somebody that believes grounded in Islam and says, regardless of whatever you put in front of me, I'm not changing. That to me is the problem.
Yeah, I would reiterate that this quote-unquote problem again applies to atheists, and that's why you've got people that they follow scientism, because they believe that science holds the key to every form of truth. That these people follow evolution blind. They will say evolution, despite whatever evidence is going to come, evolution is fact according to science. Big Bang Theory is fact. We're not going to change, and that's why I also said that there is difficulty for barriers to entry in science for people that believe in intelligent design, and you said it is laughable because it goes against that. But again, we're going around in circles and circles because you're mounting of evidence can be refuted by another mountain of evidence.
Not with evolution.
So you're saying evolution, you can't come across more observations that will change evolution, that there can be a paradigm, that there can be a paradigm shift to evolution.
I'm saying, I don't know how, but
Quran, chapter 17, verse 47. Islam is Muhammad.
Give him attention, he's going to come to you more. He might even just jump onto your
I would
phone.
elbow it.
Muhammad.
Not try that.
All right, Asos, I think we've had a really good...
I've enjoyed that, man.
Yeah, no. Check it out. Again, this is going to be online. You can verify everything that I said, but yeah, let's catch up on
I'll
this.
come some other time, we'll continue our conversation.
Yeah,
Hopefully this devil won't be around.
come on. Well, yeah, you're just going around in circles, isn't it?
Well, you know, if he wasn't lost, he wouldn't have, right? By the way, I just want to make a quick comment.